So, going on with the installation of the SoftStart RV, um, as I said before, well, let me finish up about the support they provide. And this I didn't do, but it kept me comfortable throughout the couple hours it took me to do this project. Mainly because of the up and down to the roof, and I'd forget, a small, not a tool really, because it took almost nothing. A bottle of water or something I want, or um, other necessities, and uh, so I get the unit up there and everything, and I took the instructions that I printed out with that schematic. That was important to me, and um, I've kind of identified all the wires. What I did not do that I saw the guy do that had a Coleman Mach on the roof of his RV, but it was a different layout. And he was able to, and he was a confident guy about working with electrical stuff. He had experience and good tools and so forth. The soft start unit comes with a bag full of connectors. This is just what's left over after the project. Um, and they stress you use those. Don't use one of these little kits you bought, inline connectors or stuff or anything, because they're not rated. Um, and these are, and um, it had exactly what I needed in there and a little bit more. I think there was one electrical connection that they gave me two of, and I only needed one. Um, but there's five wires coming out of it. The first three are easy, at least with the unit I put it on. The last two, that's, I believe, where the PTCR part came in. Um, it's those conditional instructions, and um, yeah, I can forget. I think you're only removing one wire, but um, one of the connectors has two wires that go into the same connector, and you plug that in where the only one wire used to be. But that's a good thing. Like, for example, in the instructions, it says here, here's a quick one. Step 2, connect the black soft start RV wire to the terminal the white wire was on. So, it was real clear. They not only identify the wires of the soft start unit, but the wiring that's in your particular air conditioner. Um, so that's why it was easy. What was a little more difficult was after that, trying to, they tell you install the unit. Yeah, the wires do come out of one end, I remember now. Install the unit standing up with those wires at the bottom. Or if you have to, put it horizontally. But never do it with the wires facing up, because that exposes the opening where the wires go to, water leaking that might get down in there in whatever circumstances that might occur, um, and ruining the unit. So I did ultimately find a place. I wasn't positive it was going to be okay, but it's been great. It was a hard plastic shell within the covered area of the AC unit itself. And I just stuck that, I peeled that 3M tape peel coat off, stuck it to the side of that, and it's never going to move again, I'm pretty sure. Not on its own. Put the cover back on. Here's where that got to be a problem. I didn't spend a lot of time on it because it wasn't that critical, but I do need to go back up on the roof and finish this situation, because I didn't notice it when I took the cover off. There were 4 bolt holes, 2 in front, 2 in back. The 2 in the front were easy, lined up and everything. I can't believe I missed this when I took the cover off. And I didn't have it in the wrong position. There's only one way it can go on. You can't have it backwards or anything like that. It's not doable. So that wasn't the problem. Those 2 studs that the 2 bolts in the back went into, most people have put stuff together where the bolt holes don't line up with the corresponding pilot holes. But usually when that is the case, one of them's okay, and the other one's a little bit off center, and you kind of have to monkey with it, and then you get it done, and that's it. Not this. These 2 holes, the studs were outside of the holes are here. The studs are like here. It was an impossible situation. I have no idea what occurred there. So what I should have done, that was the hardest part to reach too, because I'm on top of the trailer facing aft. Those things are on the aft end of that riser, and if you go over the side or the back rather there, it's going to be a complicated fall, and it's going to mean a hospital trip for sure, at least parked on a driveway, which I am. So I mean, I fought this for a couple minutes and that, but the big thing is you don't want to round the shoulders off to the Phillips fitting and have, compound your problems there and then have to go to the hardware store and all that. And besides, it wouldn't have solved the big problem, which is the holes are impossible to both line. It was hard to get one of them to line up. So I loosened the front ones thinking, well, a lot of times when the studs are let's say 12 and a half inches apart, and it was more than that, but just for illustration, and the pilot holes are 12 inches apart or 11 and 3/4 apart, you got a problem. If I knew what to do to fix it when I was up there, I could have, those covers for ACs, they have, they look streamlined, all that. They're really just cheap plastic. I wouldn't want to have to replace it, but it's not a big thing. It's a cheap piece of molded plastic. So what I should have done was drilled the opening on one of them, widened it out a little bit, and on the other one it would have had to be a whole new location right above the stud hole. I just couldn't reach it. I was running out of steam, and not general energy, but just sitting in that position, straddling that riser. I was beginning to get sweaty, and I thought, man, this is a slick surface. I'm wearing shorts. If I lean a little bit to one side, I'm going off the top of this thing, and it is going to be uncomfortable. So I didn't do that. I ended up forcing the cover over to where I could access one of the stud holes, and then the other one, I ended up shooting the screw in there, and there's just some stress on the cover where the hole through the cover goes. If I'd had a pilot bit up there, like a 3/8 one, a drill bit, I probably would have made myself get in the position required to drill that hole, one of them at least, in the proper location. But I didn't have any bits up there like that. All I had was a screw bit, and I had my Ryobi cordless, and I used a number 3 Phillips in that. So I got one of them in pretty good, and the other one is just kind of in there. Not all the way seated, but I don't think it's going to come out. It's under too much stress from the plastic hole it's within. So I need to go back up there, pull the bolts out, take one last look, but I'm sure the problem is I just need to drill a hole in the cover in the right place. So then I was done, and then, oh, before that, I forgot this part. Once you're all hooked up, haven't even mounted the SoftStart RV unit yet. It's just wired up and you laid off to the side because the wires on it are pretty long. More than long enough, luckily. And you go turn your AC on in the trailer. Now, bear in mind, I was using my Honda generator, Honda 2200. So I was powered up from that, and it had been cut off because you have to kill all power before you start this project. So anyway, I started it back up, came in here, there were instructions to turn the thermostat to some setting and then just and let it kick on, and then go outside and make sure there's a green light on the SoftStart unit itself. It has to display some certain behavior, flashing or whatever it was, and it did, and boy was I thankful. Then the next step is go inside, turn the AC down really low, like 55, and let it run for 30 minutes for lack of a better understanding of the reality, I'm going to say it's for the circuitry to get used to what it's doing, so there's no false triggers in there that make one of the units on the AC behave abnormally or something. And I went through that half hour of that. Then all I had to do was find a place to mount it up there. That's when I used the tape, stuck it on that area. And went through the hassle of putting the cover back on. Then I got done, cut the generator, everything off. And unbelievably, even as I sit now, it's not running because I turned it off so it wouldn't come on during this video, but the power cord from the Casita has a 15 amp adapter on it, so you can plug it into a regular wall plug for charging the batteries. But I'm now using it into a 20 amp breaker, regular 110 wall plug. And not only that, but there's the 25-foot cord coming from the trailer. It's 10 gauge. The extension cord, another 25 feet I have. It's a new one, but the little hardware store I went to didn't have any 10 gauge extension cord, so I got a 12. And it's working. So I'm running 50 feet of line to the wall plug. And SoftStart is excellent. When it kicks on, when the compressor kicks on, it is just a low impact event. Again, without getting into electrical terminology that I'm not familiar with, I remember reading and seeing on some of the videos that basically that power amp surge, I think they call it, goes up to around 60-ish when the unit cycles on. Every time it cycles on. That's why you have to have a 30 amp for this one, and some ACs need a 50 amp, and etc. That's what you overcome when, at least in my situation with the SoftStart RV unit, and I'm confident the micro air would have worked just as well. I just couldn't get it. It was $323 with tax and shipping, expediting shipping, and all that. Man, it's unbelievable. So I solved all my problems for that 2 or so hours of work, and $300, well spent. I don't regret buying the Honda generator because we have that now, and if I go traveling, or when I go traveling, it's going with me, because you never know. And if I'm boondocking, it's going to be a must. So yeah, it is such a win. It's one of those, one of those rare products that you buy it and it just delivers everything. It was like magic. I couldn't believe it. Now, when the AC runs and cycles off, and then I hear it kick back on, there's not that jolt that there was before. It's not of course, I don't have a generator running, but even on a 30 amp circuit, without a soft start, you get that when the AC kicks on. They all do it in the RV world, and I don't have that. It's just gone. You can hear it kick on, but it's a slow ride from off to on, but it is steady, and I've been running it for about probably a month and a half now. Not every day, but a good at least 15 hours a week. And soon I'm going to be using it all the time, or at least all day, pretty much every day. And I'm just waiting another couple of weeks for the electronics and Wi-Fi router and all to be installed by the company I work for, so that I can work out of this trailer, whether it's at home in my driveway or somewhere out, parts unknown. As long as it can get a cell signal, I'll be good. But yeah, what a total win. It solved a huge problem for me, and just took all the stress out of that situation. So I'd highly recommend it. Most people aren't buying it for the reason I bought it for. They're buying it, some is because they have RV with two ACs that require 50 amp, and they don't have a generator big enough to do that if they're dry camping or something. So, but if they get a soft start, they can run those same two big air conditioners off a 30 amp, which means they can get a Honda generator or have a Honda 2200 and run it off of that. There it goes. It just kicked on as I'm finishing here, and it was just a soft transition. That helps too, because in a small trailer, it's going to kick on and off a lot. So no fear on the SoftStart RV. It came with all the perfect connectors exactly. By getting that one number off your unit, if I was a young man and I was doing this, I would one day go up there just to look, get the number, then make sure they have the documentation on their website to support it, and then I'd order the unit. But I'm not, and I'm not patient either, so I wanted something done really quick, and it got done. So, success, that's all about that.